bed and stumble to the kitchen, pour myself a cup of ambition and yawn and stretch and try to come to life.
Hi, I'm Serene from Class TV, and today we're here with
Maree Curtis.
Could you tell us a little bit about your background as a journalist and your role here at RMIT?
Certainly. I started at the Sun News Pictorial as a cadet. I've also worked as the Melbourne editor for Women's Day magazine and at The Age as an editor, section editor and reporter, and at the Herald Sun and the Sunday magazine as a senior writer. And in 2007 I was appointed head of journalism programs at RMIT.
What does it take to make a good journalist? What sort of skills do you need to have?
Journalists should have tenacity. They should be curious, interested in the world, interested in world events and in the news. They should be quite brave, I think, is a good word, because sometimes you need to ask difficult questions. But I think the biggest thing is curiosity. Have a great deal of curiosity about the world and what makes the world work and about news and current affairs.
What does the role of a journalist entail?
Well, it depends where you're working, of course, because journalists can work for print or for radio, for television and online. But what we do these days is we make sure that our students have skills across all of those platforms, as we call them. Once upon a time, you tended to specialise, so you might go into radio or television or print, whereas these days, young journalists or journalists need to have skills in all of those platforms, because even if you work for the print media, then you will still have to do audio-visual for their online medium. If you work for a television station, you'll still have to often write for their online site. So it's combining all of those skills now.
What function does journalism play in today's society?
Well, I think journalism has always had a role in democracy as one of the, if you like, one of the pillars of democracy. And I think these days it's actually almost more important, if that's possible, because there is so much information out there that people can access through social media. Journalists need to sift through and help people sift through that plethora of information that's out there to find what's actually going on in the world and give, hopefully, a balanced perspective so that people can actually make up their minds about what's going on.
How does one go about being a journalist?
Well, there's different ways. We have what we call the legacy media, which is the mainstream media is another way of talking about it. So your newspapers and your television stations and your radio stations, and they still have cadetships. So the traditional way is that you get a cadetship and you do if you're a graduate, so you've already got a university degree, you can do a 1-year cadetship. But there are also different ways of coming into journalism, especially with a lot of the online media and things like that are happening. So people are starting their own media outlets, if you like, their own startups, blogs, things like that, and getting an entry into journalism that way.
How does the RMIT course prepare your students for journalism, and what can they expect to learn?
We identified that we needed to have journalists, graduates needed to be trained across all of the platforms. All of our students learn radio, television, online and print skills, so that they are prepared to enter a newsroom. But we also prepare them for the new business models of startups. So some of our students go on to start up their own websites. So it's not just for your more traditional jobs, but they're also able now to start up their own little businesses.
Do you believe that social media sites like Facebook and Twitter and stuff will begin to become the new kind of newspapers and magazines?
No, I don't. I really don't. I think that they have a place. And I think that certainly, obviously, as journalists, we need to embrace these new media technologies. But I don't think that these things will take the place of journalism. In fact, in many ways, I think they've made journalism more relevant and more important to help people filter, because anybody with an opinion and a computer can publish their views. But that's all it is. It's just a view. Whereas real journalism, done properly, is where you have access to decision makers and opinion makers, and that you temper the facts through balance, making sure that you do balanced reports rather than just opinion. Journalism isn't opinion. And that's the important thing. So in many ways, I think that the growth of social media will make real journalism more relevant and more important.
Yeah. Is journalism more about reporting what's interesting and pays more, or is it more about informing the real issues of today's society?
I think done properly, it's a nice confluence of those things. Like all private enterprise, it needs to make money. It needs to make a profit. But there's an old adage, if you're not giving your readers, viewers, listeners what they want, they're going to turn off. What comes first, the chicken or the egg? Does the media feed people what they want, or does it feed people what they think they should have? So many people say things like they're not interested in politics. Oh, I don't read about politics. I don't listen to politics. Yet when you think about it, politics affects everything in our lives. The taxes we pay, the jobs we have, occupational health and safety, the rules on the road, the rules that govern us. So how anybody could be not interested in politics is amazing to me. Good journalism does more than just educates people. Education is part of it, but it informs, and the one thing that we sometimes forget is it entertains. So any media outlet should be aiming for a variety of things, and it needs to do it in a way that its audience wants to hear or see.
What advice could you give someone considering a career in journalism?
Well, I think journalism is a fantastic career. You should think it through and think, what is journalism to you, and why do you want to be a journalist? Journalists, it's not a 9-to-5 job. So for people who are interested in a very stable life and want to work 9 to 5 and go to the office in the morning and go home in the evening, it's possibly not the best job for them. But if you're not interested in that type of 9 to 5 life, if you like a bit of excitement in your life, if you like going to work in the morning and not quite knowing what you're going to be doing that day, then journalism is a great career. Certainly we have seen a reduction in the jobs in the mainstream media. There's been a lot of redundancies, but that type of thing is stabilised now. A lot of media organisations are employing again. But my gut instinct tells me that for every job we've lost in the legacy or mainstream media, there's at least the same number, if not more jobs, now opening up in the new media. What computers and new media has given us is the ability for places to start up with, nothing like the amount of money it would have once taken, or the distribution problems. So the opportunities are there through new technologies to employ more journalists than ever before. So certainly there are job opportunities out there for journalists.
Thank you for your time.
You're very welcome.
What a way to make a living, barely getting by. It's all taking and no giving. They just use your money.